Welcome, everyone. Today we are going to explore something that concerns every woman: how stress and emotion shape our physical body, our hormones, our immunity, and ultimately our longevity. So today I'd like to show you how these systems influence one another and how something as simple as inhaling the right essential oil can help us begin to change that conversation. Let's start with the heart because it is far more than a pump. We've been taught to think that the heart is primarily a pump, an extraordinary pump, certainly, but still a mechanical organ. And today, I'd like us to temporarily set that definition aside and look at the heart through a much wider lens as an organ that perceives, communicates, and influences the entire body. Because when we reduce the heart to a muscle, we miss much of what makes it so central to women's health. As we see, the heart generates the body's largest rhythmic electromagnetic field. It also has its own intrinsic nervous system, and it is in constant two-way communication with the brain through neural signals, hormones, pressure waves, and electromagnetic activity. So every heartbeat is more than a mechanical contraction. It is also information, and that information continuously influences the brain and the rest of the body. The real question then is not whether the heart communicates, but what kind of message it sends when we are stressed, frightened, exhausted, or emotionally overwhelmed. So when we put all of that together, we see that the heart is not simply a pump. It is simultaneously an electrical, neurological, hormonal, and emotional organ. And to me, what is even more important is that these are not separate functions. They constantly interact. Our emotional state changes the rhythm of the heart. That rhythm influences the signals sent to the brain, and those signals affect hormonal regulation, immunity, and our capacity to adapt to stress. This is why the heart occupies such a central place in women's health, not symbolically, but physiologically. And I would like to stress here that women die more of cardiovascular issues than all cancers put together. So when we talk about women's autonomy and longevity, the heart cannot remain an afterthought. This is where ancient wisdom becomes especially valuable. It gives us another way of reading the connections that modern medicine has often studied separately. Traditional medicine has long described the heart and kidneys as vital axis. The heart associated with joy and connection, the kidneys with fear, security, and our deepest reserves of energy. Today, modern science uses different words: neuroendocrine regulation, stress hormones, heart rate variability, inflammation, and immune function. But it is increasingly describing the same reality. The heart, the kidneys, the emotions, and the immune system are in constant conversation. I don't know how you picture this. For most, it is something psychological, something happening in the mind. But chronic stress does not remain in the mind. It gradually reshapes the body in its entirety. It changes immune responses, disrupts hormonal communication, drains our capacity to adapt, and alters the delicate conversation between the heart and the kidneys. I said earlier that cardiovascular diseases were killing more women than cancer. So this is not primarily a male health issue. And yet, for decades, cardiovascular medicine was built primarily around the male body. Men were the majority of research participants, and their symptoms, risk factors, and responses to treatment became the medical standard. It is the leading threat to women's longevity, and yet many women still do not recognize themselves as being at risk. Perhaps because nobody talks about it very often. So women are not dying because cardiovascular disease is rare in them. They are dying partly because for too long it was misunderstood as a male disease. And a few weeks ago, a French doctor I knew came to me because she almost died of a Takotsubo, broken heart syndrome. She had to mitigate her stress level, but also manage everything emotional and learn to protect her heart. She was working too much, but she also had issues with her children's mental health. She is the best illustration of why women suffer so much from a broken heart. She was menopaused, living alone, lacking support, and disconnected from happiness. And there is no miracle pill for that. So from outside, this doctor was functioning, independent, successful, and always busy. But somewhere along the way, she had forgotten how to be happy. And I think this happens to many women. We become so good at fulfilling obligations that we stop notice what has disappeared from our lives. Pleasure, connection, curiosity, laughter, the small experiences that tell the nervous system that life is safe and worth living. And for me, joy is not simply a feeling that either appears or does not appear. Joy for me is a muscle. If we do not exercise it, it weakens. But when we deliberately practice it, even through very small sensory experiences, we begin to rebuild our capacity to feel alive. And this is exactly the purpose of what I'm explaining to you today. There is another factor to consider. When we take care of people who suffer a lot, you cannot remain untouched. Okay, there is something many caregivers, therapists, and women who support their family experience have in common. We give from the heart, but we rarely ask how the heart itself is being replenished. This is where a practice that helps restore the energy of the heart can become life-saving, not only for the person asking for help, but also for the person trying to remain strong enough to give it. The good news is that essential oils can become really life-saving. When I speak about frequency, I'm not suggesting that the body or an essential oil can be reduced to one magical number. I'm speaking about patterns of communication. Life is rhythmic, the heart beats, the brain oscillates, cells exchange electrical and chemical signals, and molecules have measurable vibrational patterns. Essential oils introduce complex sensory and molecular information into that living system. Through olfaction, they can rapidly influence brain activity, emotional memory, and autonomic regulation. Sometimes the oil we are most strongly drawn to seems to meet something the body or the emotion are asking for, even before the conscious mind can name it. My observation was that from approximately 150 megahertz, essential oils appear to produce an effect that went beyond addressing a specific symptom. They began to influence the person's overall state, their emotional energy, clarity, vitality, and capacity to reconnect to themselves. So starting at 150 megahertz, an essential oil becomes more than biochemical tool. It becomes a way of helping the whole person shift state. And Rosanna Massona essential oil is the perfect illustration of this phenomenon as it vibrates at more than 300 megahertz. I know that this is not qualified as research, but non-published doesn't mean it's not existent. And thanks to Robbie Zeck, it is well documented. Bergamot is another vibrant oil, very vibrating, and a simple inhalation goes a very long way. It is first in the line of the anti-stress oils to have in the pocket and breathe regularly. A queen in the happy oils kingdom. Geranium is one of the oils women are the most naturally drawn to, and I believe there is a reason for that. It is extraordinarily easy to bring into daily life. We can inhale it wherever we are, wherever we need it, and apply a diluted drop to the wrist or another small area on the skin. There is no complicated protocol and no need to wait until something is wrong. Its first effect is often invisible. It helps a woman return to herself, to restore a little joy, emotional stability, and connection when work, responsibility, and caring for others have gradually taken over her life. And this is exactly what I mean by prevention. One small daily gesture can support everything in a woman long before either emotion or body begins to collapse. So, your heart speaks through sense, and what I would like to do is to have this little experiment of choosing one oil that you favor, something high vibration, like for instance between jasmine, neroli, rose, bergamot is not bad, lemon, these kind of oils. You can put a drop in your hand, place the other one on top, and then inhale the oil and visualize it goes straight to your heart. Make it smile. And expel in black everything not related to joy that you don't need to keep inside you. Then you can do this 3 times or even more. And once you receive that, try to visualize or to feel what changed in yourself, your heartbeat, your breath, a general feeling. Try to do it and notice what happened. So if the body already knows what it needs, which I believe, why is it sometimes so difficult for us women to hear it? Because women have been taught for generations not to trust what they feel. We seek external validation, question our first response, and assume that someone else must know better. Eventually, intuition becomes so buried beneath doubt that we can no longer distinguish it from fear, from habit, or wishful thinking. So in my next webinar, I'll show you the solution. how I educate women to rebuild trust with something concrete, visible, and tangible, how I accompany them through a precise method that allows them to see their own responses, verify them, and gradually recognize that their body has been communicating all along. In our next webinar, I will introduce you to this method and show you how we can move from doubt and second guessing to a much clearer relationship with our own inner information. In case you want to know all about it right now, this approach is presented in my book, Breathe, Love, Heal, that you'll find on Amazon. And if you have questions, I'm here for you right now.